Hi, I'm Thaïs Ramdani. I'm a final year psychology student. I'm the current gender equality officer for the SRC, and I'm running for Vice President Student Support.
Excellent, thanks for coming down today. Could you please start by detailing your specific achievements as Gender Equality Officer?
Yeah, so as a Gender Equality Officer, even before really starting into office last year, I made sure that all of the SRC First Helpers had their preferred their pronouns on their passes, which had quite a lot of good feedback even from helpers from other student bodies. I've helped with organising Trans Day of Remembrance, the event that happened here at the university with Dylan, who's the Gender and Sexual Diversity Officer. I've been working as well on a survey for student parents with the current Age Equality Officer and the current VPSS, Erin Ross, which hopefully should go out soon. And one of the big bulk of what I've been doing recently is organising International Women's Week, which will happen a little bit later on in the year, and there's quite a lot of societies that have been involved, so I'm quite excited about it. And through my role, I've also sat on a few university committees. I've sat on the Gender Equality Steering Group, and I was elected by the council to sit on the Student Support and Development Committee as well.
Excellent. One thing that plagues the SRC is a lack of dialogue between the staff and students on the SRC. I know you worked for the publicity team last year.
Yeah.
Do you think you have managed to increase student engagement through that, and how do you propose to continue increasing student engagement with the SRC?
Yeah, I would like to think so. You know, as publicity officer, it was a mix of putting up posters for whatever events or elections that were happening within the SRC, and there was a lot as well with for the National Student Survey, the entire PR team, we all go out and we do lecture call-outs and we just talk to students and we tell them what's happening, and I guess I would like to think that in a way we make them more aware about the SRC, because we were saying we're from the SRC and we want to talk about National Student Survey and how you can make sure to improve the university in your course. I think that it is important to just get out there and talk to students. As much as, being a sabbatical officer, there's a lot of work and it's a job and you're in your office and you do your work, I think you still need to be able to go out and talk to the students, talk to the clubs and the societies, talk to the other student bodies who maybe have a more direct link with their own group of students, just to make sure that there is that conversation. And because, if we don't get that information from the students, then we can't really pass it on to the university afterwards.
Perfect. Your manifesto details your support for increased funding for carers and parents at Glasgow, as well as increased peer support, increased mental health support for those abroad and at different campuses, and also training for advisory staff in mental first aid health.
Yeah.
Do you have specific plans regarding that, and also plans regarding how you're going to get the funding for those?
Good question. I currently do not have any specific plans. I really hope that it is something that will that I'll learn for those first 2 months, and I'll sort of have a clearer idea of where to pull the money for what different objectives. I know that, for example, financial support for student parents and student carers. I know that the university has been piloting a carers fund for staff, with the idea being that staff will have to go away to a conference, for something that will improve their work and improve their quality of teaching, of research. The idea is that the university has been providing funds to them up to £150 to sort of support them if they need to find someone to take care of a child or someone that they're caring for. So there are initiatives like this happening here and there, and I think it would be a case of trying to implement, make sure that the students are also able to benefit those, especially if they have to go away on field trips that are quite often compulsory. For peer support and mental health, it falls back into the issue of counselling and psychological services and their lack of funding, which has been a problem for a long time. I know that right now they've been prioritised for the next round of funding allocation, that's the word. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it means that they will get a little bit more money in the years to come. But I would say that it's also important to sort of find a way to get all of these sent out, and trying to find a way for it to cost as little money as possible, because the union is always going to be like, yes, we don't want to spend all our money for some reason, because welfare is perhaps sadly not, I don't know where I'm going with that sentence. but it's quite often, it's sadly quite often maybe put in the background a little bit. So if we find a way to be like, listen, you don't have to spend all that money that you're scared of spending, that you think that maybe you can't spend, we can just find ways to go about it.
Great. In terms of support for those who are abroad and at different campuses,
Yeah.
do you think that will be prioritised, bearing in mind the lack of resources at our campus?
That's a good question. I think that it should be addressed on the same level. I wouldn't say that there should be any priority. Then it might end up happening that maybe students in here will, the issues here will get sorted out faster, because sadly that's the way it is. This is where everybody is, this is where the staff is, this is where the support systems are. But I do think that it is important to also keep in mind those students, just because they go on a year abroad or because they are studying on a different campus than the one here, they are still Glasgow Uni students, and they should still have access to the same amount of support. So, yeah.
Excellent. Your manifesto proposes using gender-neutral language in classes. I was wondering if you could clarify what your plan for that is.
Yeah, of course. So there's been quite a lot of feedback, both from my personal experience and from the experience of other students, about the issue of gendered language in lectures. Whether it be in the case, things that I've heard from being involved with the LGBTQ+ society, of people not using gender neutral language, in the sense of just saying, oh, he or she will do this, or instead of just switching out to they would, which makes a lot of sense. Or even from students in subjects like engineering, for example, where in exams or in classes, whenever there's this hypothetical scenario, it's always a male engineer and it's always a man, and he's always doing this and he's always doing that. So I think that by using gender neutral terms, it can allow students to feel more included in their course, especially in subjects where there's quite a strong gender imbalance, and it is, the university is trying to get more women into engineering or more men into nursing. So yeah, I think that having a gender neutral language in lectures would be really, really helpful.
What kind of timeline do you expect to have that rolled out on? Is there a training program you had in mind for staff?
For gender neutral language?
Yeah.
Well, I was hoping, from talking a little bit with Kate Powell, who's the VP Education at the moment, I think that starting to have a conversation with the learning and teaching committees and starting to talk to staff to slowly introduce it from there could be a good start. And then I also know that the public sector equality duty guidelines, which are being prepped for the end of April of this year, I believe, which are sort of a list of guidelines that the university sets out to be like, to say, we'll focus on these issues of equality. And one of those is really learning and teaching and the diversification of the curriculum. So the university wants to do this. They want to make sure that their curriculum is more diverse. So yeah, I think it's the little things. It's making sure that these little issues that some people might think are maybe not that important still get included as well.
Great. And I have one final question for you. Your manifesto supports increased provision of gender-neutral and family-friendly and quiet spaces.
Yeah.
However, the campus is heavily overburdened with students
Yeah.
already. So how do you plan to implement that?
Yeah, it is really difficult. I think right now, what we need to in the new campus redevelopment, the university is really trying to have really fluid spaces and spaces that change, and this, students can make their own space to do whatever they want with it. And I think if we can somehow implement this idea onto the current campus, and it would be amazing. We've recently secured reflective spaces in the library, which is amazing, and I know that there's been really, really positive feedback from that. And there are rooms that are not being used, all day, every day. There are empty rooms. There are lecture theatres that are being used for, 300 seats, and there's like 20 students in them, and it's just not working out. So I think that it's more a case of reshuffling and trying to find short-term solutions, because of course, there will be all those spaces in the new buildings in the campus redevelopment, because the uni's been really working towards that, but I think there still needs to be somehow a sort of shorter term solution.
In terms of the campus redevelopment, how much influence do you think that you'll have in influencing what those spaces are used for? Well,
I know that the SRC in general has already had quite a strong influence. I know that Erin, the Vice President of Student Support, and Lauren, who's the Disability Equality Officer, they've been sitting on groups that have really, really been pushing for all of those spaces to be available. And they've set out guidelines saying, new buildings and the redevelopment will have gender-neutral facilities, they will have all of these. I think right now it's more a case of making sure that they are accessible places, and that it's not just, well, yes, there is a gender-neutral toilet, it is tucked in the bottom part of this building where no one ever goes, or yes, there is this tiny little room in the corner there. It's really making sure that they're not just taking a box and be like, yeah, we'll just shove that in the corner. It's really still making it a priority and allowing for this, and allowing the fluidity to sort of still maintain, still ensure that there are study spaces, which the campus is lacking, and but also those more sort of general life areas.
Great, thank you so much for joining the Glasgow Guardian for this interview.
No worries.